Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast dedicated to helping individuals start and build successful bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. This show is actually meant to give you the tips and tricks, the various things you need to know to market, sell, price your services effectively, and offer them with confidence and competence so that you can get paid what you're worth and do so in a very confident manner. Now, as for our episodes, we have guests on each and every week wherein we interview the experts, individuals that are running and operating their own businesses and offering tips and suggestions for us each to apply in our businesses, as well as others that can help us with various things that we can do in our business to be more efficient, productive, and profitable. I invite you to actually join us each week and especially subscribe to the podcast to get most out of this experience. I happen to be your guest, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. For more than 20 years, I've been working with accounting professionals to literally help them have the premier accounting firm in their area. Today, I have a special guest. It's Lindsay Kline. Lindsay is the president of her bookkeeping business, Sakline, and she actually is also the founder of Bookkeepers Club networking group, as well as the host of her own podcast called By the Books. So what I'd like to do is, first of all, welcome you to the show, Lindsay.
Thank you so much, Roger. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, this is going to be quite fun. Obviously, we met at a conference, BKX, and there had some amazing conversations. I just loved the interaction that we had together. Sat down and ate with some other friends, and at the same time, really, I think, discussed a variety of things that will be of interest today. But let's start with your background. What got you into the accounting profession to start with?
Oh man, I was pretty much born into it because my dad, who owned a masonry business, started teaching me how to do the bookkeeping for his masonry business when I was about 12 years old.
I love it.
And so, yes, I was the oldest of 6 children, and I guess he thought, hey, free child labor. So I started learning how to do payroll and booking check register transactions and all kinds of things. But this was back whenever it was Lotus 123 and Quicken.
Oh yeah. So basically, I'm running my masonry business, and my daughter, who's 12, handles the books and does payroll. So there you go.
Yes,
that is great. So obviously, you got an early start. So when did this become, let's say, more serious outside of junior high?
Well, I kind of had an unorthodox, obviously, journey to where I am today. Through my teenage years, I had a lot of mentorship from my aunt, who was a CPA, and just kind of from word of mouth, people would find out that I did bookkeeping, and they'd ask me to help them, usually for different projects or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I was in my 20s, I decided the thing to do was to go get a full-time job. Since then I've learned it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Okay.
But I did go get a job as just a, accounting clerk, low man on the totem pole, but I wanted to learn everything I could. So it was just my goal to say yes to everything and learn everything I could. So through just that strategy, not having any college professional education at that point, I grew in my career. And then my world was turned completely upside down in 2011 when my husband passed away. And that definitely threw me for a lurch. And where I thought my life was going, obviously it took a very sharp turn.
It did.
So it was yes, it did. And so, in fact, at the first episode of my podcast, By the Books, I talk pretty in depth about that journey and what happened with my husband and how that ultimately led me to starting to go to college, because after that, I was pretty traumatized and I was not ready for a full-time stressful job that I had been in prior to that. So I just started taking classes at the community college, and I had been homeschooled from kindergarten to 12th grade. So my first day of college at 28 years old was my first day of school ever. And I was so intimidated. I was so scared. I had no idea what to expect. And to show you how much of a fish out of water I was, I'm going in there with a lot of career experience behind me, but no academic experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm approaching this classroom like I'm at a networking meeting. And I start shaking people's hands, introducing myself, like, hi, I'm Lindsay.
I love it.
So, but that's exactly what I needed at that point in my life. I found that I really enjoyed school. It took me a while to get my degree, but I finally graduated in 2019 with my accounting degree. And it was during my time at college that I started my bookkeeping business, Sakline. And originally, it was just a side business. It was just something I was doing as some side income while I was going to school. And I don't think I really anticipated it becoming more than that. But life takes you where you never expect it sometimes. So now it's actually my full-time gig. It's what I do.
I love it. I love it. Well, let me say a few things here. One, first of all, my condolences. Having someone such as a spouse pass away is very traumatic, and I want to offer those. And at the same time, really share that I think a lot of our listeners may very well be able to relate to your experience. I know that a number of people get into the accounting profession simply because of their upbringing, and you obviously experienced that. It was something you experienced at a young age. I'm assuming there was a love for it, a familiarity for it that got you to actually pursue it a little bit from a career point of view, as you mentioned in your 20s. But then life brings these curveballs. It brings us these things where maybe it's not what we thought we would do or need to do, but like in your experience, many people are going through this unexpected, I need to do something on my own. And for them, it's this entrepreneurial thing. And you obviously were subsidizing what you're doing at school and such. So a lot of people, they do begin their businesses like you, where it's a supplemental income. They're doing it on the side, and they all of a sudden realize, oh my heavens, if I just put a little bit more energy and effort in this, I think I can actually market this. I think I can sell this. I may be able to actually do this full time and provide for my family. And so it becomes this unexpected opportunity. And that's exactly what you experienced. So you didn't go into it with the intent of, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to start my own business. It just kind of evolved that way. And at some point, and you tell me if this is not true, you have an epiphany of, oh my heck, this is the direction I need to go, and I'm all in.
Yes, exactly. And I'll say this, you'll find when you give your clients quality service, you're never going to be hungry. Like, they will come, because the world is in dire need of people that give quality, accurate, honest services.
Well, I agree with you. That's where the referrals come. That's where you retain your clients. The national average right now is 7 years. Well, it's 7 years because you're offering quality services, not 7 years because they're just limping along. So let's talk about starting your business. You obviously were doing it as a supplemental, and then it went full time. What kind of unexpected things happened as you really started to put the energy behind growing your business? What didn't you anticipate, but you experienced?
I never thought of myself as being a salesperson. I never thought that was something that was in my talent. But as I started actively pursuing growing my business, and that became such a large part of my role in the company, I really found that not only did I enjoy it, but I was actually pretty good at it. And that was kind of surprising to me, actually, because I never saw myself in that light.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting how when you own a company, how you're forced to wear a lot of different hats and then grow areas that you never maybe even thought you had talent in, and then realize, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this.
Well, there's a few truths in that. One, many of the accounting professionals that I work with, CPAs, enrolled agents, tax preparers, they're really good at what they do technically. They have the skills for the accounting, but sometimes they're just not comfortable speaking with business owners, other people, and need to explain what they do, price what they do, ask for the sell. All those things become uncomfortable for them. But the ones that really experience, like you have, this epiphany of, oh my heavens, not only am I okay at that, I'm actually enjoying it, is when they start to tap into the passion of why they're in business. They start to realize they can make a difference. They are of benefit to their clients. What they're doing is worth what they're charging because it does help the client. There's a lot of little epiphanies that happen. When you first get your initial client, you're charging a fee, and most often you're charging too little. But all of a sudden, within maybe weeks or months, you should, I would assume, I would hope, realize I'm actually helping this business. I'm making it better for them.
Yeah.
I'm helping them focus on what they do best, and I'm helping take care of these things. They're avoiding fees and fines. They've got the numbers to run their business. However you want to look at it, you're making a difference, and it's worth what you're asking for. So that epiphany really kind of bolsters your confidence to go after the next one and the next one, and literally look the business owner in the eye and ask for the fee that's fair and appropriate for what you're doing. So that's great. Let's talk now about your business. You've been doing it now just for a few years. You're still pretty close to when it was starting. I'm just kind of curious, if you were to look back through the lens of time and speak to your younger self who was considering starting the business, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
Something I actually wish I had realized in my teenage years, because I could have started this then. I didn't know that at the time. But if I could go back and talk to my teenage self, I would be saying, build this now. Don't, it wasn't on my radar at all at that point. And at that point, my mindset was that I needed, like I said, to go get a full-time job. And now I think back to, if I had started then building what I'm just recently started building, where would I be today had I started then? And I don't think I understood, I know I didn't understand how building a business is not just about going and getting clients and getting paid for your work. It's also the fact that you're building an asset. And I think a lot of business owners don't even realize that you actually are building something that has value that you can actually sell one day, or even if you pass it down, whatever your goal is in the long term, there's going to be an end point, right? Whether that be because you retired, because you passed it down to your family, because you sold it, whatever the case may be, at some point there's an end for you with your business. And don't you want it to be as valuable as it can be at that point, no matter what it is that's your goal? And that I didn't understand, that it's not, I don't think I understood that when you go work as an employee, a W-2 employee, there's definitely a ceiling on how much you can make. When you go work for yourself, not only is there no ceiling for how much you can get in terms of growing your business, but also what value you can obtain in that asset that is your business.
Amen.
That's what I wish I had understood.
I'm going to speak to a few points. First of all, there is an opportunity cost that I think a lot of us don't realize when we procrastinate doing something.
Yes.
Every day that's passed, we miss something. Okay. So delaying it, putting it off, doing it next month, next week, next year, there's an opportunity cost. There's something that we're now behind. We're not that much farther ahead.
Yes.
The second point that I think you bring up so well, and this is so often when I'm coaching with our clients, what the accountants oftentimes experience is there is epiphanies where when you start the business, it's a way to make an income. It's how I pay the bills. It's how I provide for the family. And initially, it's a job. Yes, you own the company. Yes, you are the owner and make all the decisions and get that liberty. But at the end of the day, there's a job mentality to it. If I don't do it, I don't make money. But there's this epiphany that all of a sudden comes when, oh my heavens, if I put together processes and systems and I have employees and I have clients, the business itself now has value, and I can literally sell this or step aside from the day-to-day operations and still receive an income. Oh my heavens, this isn't a job. I'm the owner of a company. And you were from the get-go. It's just you didn't treat it or see it that way. And there's that epiphany when all of a sudden you have this insight of, there's a different exit strategy or end game to this than me just stopping working one day.
Yes. Absolutely.
So very good. So here's the third thing that I took from what you were sharing is when doing your business, I think we've got to get excited about what we're doing and really see how we're benefiting our clients. And so I'm kind of curious, what are you passionate about in your business that really stands out to you, that differentiates you from other accounting professionals and the services they provide?
So my tagline is honest, accurate bookkeeping performed on time. And that tagline was created to address the three major pain points that I hear from prospective clients. And this is dating back to when I was a teenager and had people tell me their pain points, which is A, that their bookkeeper screwed everything up, they weren't accurate, that their bookkeeper stole from them, which I've heard that many, many times,
Wow.
or that their bookkeeper was not doing anything on time and they were getting late fees or penalties or just couldn't get financial statements or their taxes done on time. So those three pain points were what I have strived to address, that we are accurate, that we're honest, and that we're timely. And those three things really encompass everything I hear from people about their pain points as it relates to bookkeepers. So that's what I get passionate about, is helping people fix those pain points.
Well, I love what you've done is you've made it very succinct to help with your marketing. The business owner clearly knows what you're doing. And that is something that I can definitely attest to. There was a period of time when marketing our services, it wasn't really clear. I knew what we were doing, but it was hard to articulate it to the business owner for them to see the value of it, the benefits of our doing the work we do. And when we finally broke it down to 5 key elements, we were not only able to describe and explain it a lot better, but they definitely got it. And now we're willing to talk about the services and pay for them. So in our case, we're engage and manifest, understanding accounting, increase revenues, improve profits, build value. And as we talk about those, they're like, well, what does engage and manifest mean? And it starts a dialogue. What does understand accounting mean? What does increase revenue mean? Improve profits, build value. And those conversations lead to, well, I could benefit from that. I need that. That's something that I should be doing. And as a business owner, they all of a sudden see value and want to work with you to have that benefit, right? So I like that.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about really 3 parts of the business that I think are quite essential when I'm working with our clients. And it's what I call mapping the business. Mapping the business is very simple. It's getting more clients, offering quality services at a great revenue value, and then lastly, working efficiently and profitably. So the M stands for marketing and sales. What advice would you give that's been effective for you as you've gone out marketing and getting more clients?
I think a lot of the hang up with accountants specifically when they think of sales is it oftentimes has a negative connotation because we think of some salesperson that rubs us the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
The used car salesman type, and just associating ourselves with that gives us an icky feeling. So I have approached it very differently, and a lot of people have different sales styles, and I'm not saying that my way is the way, but it's a way I have found to be very effective for me, and basically seeing sales as just relationship building and getting really good at asking good questions. People's favorite topic is themselves. So if you can get somebody talking about themselves and start listening for those pain points, people will pay to have their pain solved. They want their pain alleviated. Mm-hmm. So start getting them talking, listen for pain points, and get creative about the ways that you can help them solve those pain points. That's really, in my mind, all good sales is.
Amen, amen, amen. So I can't say anything that would really enhance what you've said. You've really nailed it on the head here, because a lot of times when accounting professionals consider marketing and selling, their expertise, their training, their formal education oftentimes consisted of everything but selling. They don't know how to market and sell their services.
Right.
But when you just made it as simple as, first of all, people like to talk about themselves. Therefore, let's just ask questions about them. In other words, it's not that you need all the right answers, you need all the right questions. And the right questions are simply ones about them.
Yes.
Ask about them and listen, because you're correct. They will start to volunteer some of their pains, frustrations, anxieties, what they're needing. And if you pay attention, you'll hear what are those things that you can help alleviate or address or resolve. And that's when the time turns back to you to say something. You express appreciation for them sharing. They were very open. We're grateful that they were. So let's tell them that, hey, thanks for sharing that. That was, I was very interested, and you obviously answered that, and I appreciate you kind of revealing that. Now, all of a sudden, you go into how you can address that and help them with that. Well, that's your presentation. They're starting to hear how you can meet their need and resolve a concern, a need, an interest that they have. And that is selling. I mean, at a simple level for an accounting professional, that's great training or advice. So I appreciate that. Let's talk now about in the MAP philosophy, we go from the M being marketing and sales to the A, accounting services. What about your accounting services do you offer that's either unique, or what do you do? Do you do bookkeeping, accounting, tax? I mean, what are the services that you're currently offering?
Our business is exclusively bookkeeping, which is definitely unique, I think, because oftentimes there's multiple services. It's a CPA firm that does taxes and bookkeeping. I've found it to be kind of unusual to have a company that exclusively does bookkeeping, but we do. And I would say one of the things that I have found to be unique as I've networked with other bookkeepers is that we make a concerted effort. This is the first thing that comes to mind, is we make a concerted effort to immediately connect with the tax preparer, because there needs to be continuity there. And I think oftentimes there's a disconnect between bookkeeper and tax preparer, and that disconnect can have some major consequences. And the client may not even realize that there's a disconnect, or that a disconnect can create some major issues. So, for example, I talked to a prospective client recently that told me that about $150,000 of tax deductible expenses had been left off of his tax return, which obviously increased his tax liability.
Mm-hmm.
Now, had the right hand been talking to the left hand and the bookkeeper had been paying attention to the tax return, then that would not have happened. So that's one thing I think that I've seen that sets us apart that I have not found many bookkeepers do, is get the tax return before it's filed, request it, and hopefully the tax preparer is willing to do that so that we can review it and reconcile it to the books and make sure that what's on the books, that there's a good reason why it was left off the tax return. So I would
Mm-hmm.
say that would just be one example of something that we're doing to make sure there's continuity there and that our clients' tax returns are accurate.
So the beauty of this is, first of all, you can emphasize or focus on specific services. In your case, you chose to be the bookkeeper. And there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, obviously, you're dealing with monthly interactions with the client. You're being meticulous about the transactions. You're trying to provide them on a very recurring basis these financial reports to help them make more informed, educated business decisions. And the more accurate and timely the information you're giving, the better they can run their companies. But what you did is you spoke of something that I speak highly of, which is if you're choosing not to do a particular service, in your case, taxes, you want to be able to say to the business owners that you have an associate that works on and takes care of those tax needs, and you introduce them to this individual and you collaborate, because there's a big difference between tax planning and tax preparation. The planning is the key. That's where all the strategy exists. And if you're collaborating with the tax preparer, as you described, where the bookkeeper and the tax preparer are communicating, there's a strategy that can be taken. And it depends on what strategy you're implementing. Are you trying to show that the company is very profitable, preparing for an exit, and that it actually is making money? Or are you trying to limit tax liabilities and limit those expenses or those tax fees that you're going to be paying? Well, that's a strategy. And what we need to be doing is collaborating, as you described. And then the preparation is more easily done, and it's more something that everybody's on the know for. So that's good. All right. So let's talk now about production. The MAP acronym is marketing and sales, accounting, the services we're providing, and then production. It's the efficiency and the profitable way in which we do the work. So that's onboarding, that's client relations. Tell us about what you feel is important or unique about your onboarding or client relations that you have.
One thing that I have started doing for my clients is when we have their monthly financials complete, I will do a video, and I'll usually have my senior staff accountant with me there because she also oversees the bookkeeping. And we will just go over the financials and talk about things we've seen, how they're performing compared to prior months or prior years. Maybe do a ratio here and there, just things that I spot that I want to make sure the business owner has on their radar. And I do it in a video format because, while I'm always eager to meet with clients whenever they want to meet, oftentimes they're too busy to have an extended sit down. So if in a video format, they can watch it in their own time. And, I try to make it less than 10 or 15 minutes. So it's something that they can fit in their schedule. And then oftentimes that will lead to them wanting to meet because something in that video kind of caused them to go, I want to talk about that a little bit more. So I have found that has been really well received. And I think it communicates to our clients that they're on our radar, that we care about them, that care about their company, that, they're not just a number, that we're actually looking over things and that they matter, so that's the message I want all my clients to get from us.
Perfect. And I'm going to talk to that, but real quickly, I'm curious, what is the technology platform you're using to do that?
I actually just use Zoom.
Good.
I'll just screen share on Zoom and record it, and then I will upload it to our server where we have all the clients' files. We'll just have the video there, and then I'll send them a link to it.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm familiar with what you just described, people using Zoom, recording it, putting it up in a shared file that they have access to, and then linking to it in an email.
Right.
That in the email, they can click to it, see it, watch it. Very
exactly.
Good. The other that I'm familiar with is a service similar to like Loom. Loom allows you to record it and likewise send a link and have them watch it. The nice part about Loom is Loom will notify you as to they've now seen it and so forth, and they can comment on it. But here's the thing that I think is great about what you're doing is obviously time is an issue. So if you can actually avoid a 30 or hour-long minute with the highlights of just quickly preparing for the meeting and sharing with them these specific things that they need to be aware of, obviously, the 60-minute meeting, the 30-minute meeting is more concise. It's less of the pleasantries, less of the distractions. It's just to the point. Here's what they need to know about the last month. And I like how you highlight the different trends or the things that have caught your eye. They're interested in your perspective. You're going to see things that they're not aware of because they're living the business day to day. And you've got this outside view where you're going to notice things about the numbers and the trends that they need to be aware of. So those are great insights. And then the last thing is just about time. This could be viewed at 2 a.m. when they can't sleep. Oh, I've got this email from my bookkeeper. I've got to see what Lindsay's saying about the business. And they just go on at 2 a.m. Well, that's when they're interested and they're able to conveniently do this. And so I love it because it ultimately leads to them now catching, you catch their attention, them reaching out to you. Hey, I'd like to know more about this. Can we schedule a time to talk about this a little bit more in detail? I like what you shared. So, Lindsay, do me a favor. With regards to your business, what advice would you have for the listeners as to what they could be doing to actually improve their business right now today? Are you aware of any technology that they should be considering? Maybe a need in the marketplace that they ought to look at? Maybe a niche they should be focusing on?
Well, I'm in this journey myself, actually, because I'm trying to find a workflow software that not only will handle our workflows, our checklists, everything that needs to be done for every client, but also will have some document management, we'll have our CRM. I kind of want everything under one roof. So I've been doing some research on that myself and looking at various options. Obviously, there are applications out the wazoo, and they all have different strengths. So that's a journey I'm on myself. But right now, what we've been using for our workflows and our checklists are manual spreadsheets. It's not the most efficient necessarily, but it is something that lets us see. We kind of have what we call a bookkeeping guide for every client, where it's just the central hub. Anybody that touches that client, the goal is that they can look at that bookkeeping guide and hit the ground running, and know everything they need to know about the bookkeeping, everything that needs to be done weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. So I think more than anything, no matter what you use, whether it's a spreadsheet or whether it's a sophisticated software, the biggest key is keeping it organized in some way, making sure that you're not letting those deadlines fall through the cracks.
Well, first of all, I'm going to do a shameless plug right now.
Okay.
We coincidentally happen to be doing a tech stack webinar where we're talking about the different technologies, specifically things like automation and CRMs and so forth. And so I'm going to put in the episode description mention to that so that the listeners can go listen, and I'll encourage you to do the same.
Yes.
But related to this, I think you'll be interested in this little point. We had a focus group just a few weeks ago where we brought in various sizes of accounting, bookkeeping, and tax firms. And I was amazed in that conversation as we kind of observed them talking and obviously asked questions for them to discuss as a group, how many of the firms, whether they're sole entrepreneurs or very large, I had some large CPA firms there with quite large staffs, how many of them admitted to still doing a lot of their work using Excel and using that as managing their client relations, tasks, and so forth. But they each admitted that they're trying to do, like you described, they wanted to more formalize that system or process that they're using. And they did share various solutions that some of them were testing. And there were a few people there that were speaking of ones that they quite like. So there's a lot to be said about what you just mentioned, because at the end of the day, that organization, that process, that system is what really lends value to your business in the end game, at the exit. That's what people are buying, is this system that you've created to onboard clients, take care of clients, retain clients. That's what people are going to pay for when they buy your business. So lots to be said about that. I'm going to change this up a little bit, and I'm going to go kind of more down the personal side of this and kind of see what we can do here. Tell me something in business that you're passionate about.
Oh, a couple of things. And I think they're both really relationships, because I would say my relationships with my clients and prospective clients, but also with my employees. And that's been a big part of my passion in growing a company, is to have a company that's as much about servicing our clients as it is about building a positive culture and empowering my employees. And I'm really passionate about both of those things.
I love it. This is a people business, both internally with our employees, but more importantly, I think we need to remember as accounting professionals, it's also a personal business or a people business with our clients. So I like that perspective, and you're passionate about that, and that's important. So here's another question. Do you have a pet peeve?
Okay, might sound silly to some people, although I bet the accountants will get this. I cannot stand when people don't use the proper naming conventions when they save files.
Okay.
So I have a very specific way that I like all our files saved, and it's every client should have the same format, the same template, the same structure in how it's named. So if I had to pick a pet peeve, that's probably one of my biggest ones, is opening up one of our client folders and seeing naming conventions that are all over the place.
You know what? I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon. This is a similar pet peeve. So I'll work with employees in the office, and it makes me cringe. It frustrates me when I go to them and we're looking at their email, and they have one folder. It's an inbox, and it's got hundreds, if not thousands, of emails in it. And I'm like, this is no way to organize this thing. You need to create folders and move these things into buckets, or at least trash it, delete the darn thing. What are you doing with an inbox that's got thousands of things in it? So it's literally, in my mind, a checklist, and you're either replying and dragging it away, you're replying and deleting it, you're replying and forwarding it.
Yes.
You've got to do something, and then you do something with it. It's, in my mind, it's nothing more than a digital representation of a letter that's on my desk. What am I going to do with it? Just keep stacking it up so I have a stack of 100 letters on my desk? So I kind of get what you're talking about. I'm going to volunteer another pet peeve.
Okay.
This is totally on the spot, but it is a pet peeve. One example of a pet peeve is when I call someone, they answer, and then they quickly tell me they don't have any time to talk. Oh, I'm in a meeting. I can't talk. Why did you answer the phone? This is ridiculous. Just let me go to voicemail. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So, if you answer the phone within 60 seconds, why are you telling me you can't talk? That's ridiculous. So I'm fine going to voicemail. Just don't get me excited about, I got a hold of you. Let's talk. And they're like, no, I can't talk right now. This is dumb. So there's a pet peeve for you.
It's because they realized it was you, Roger.
No, don't say things like that. No.
I'm just kidding.
I know you are. So let's do this then. What is a go-to food for you?
Let's see. I love Tex-Mex. And of course, I'm in Texas.
Yeah.
So it's true to form. And I grew up here. So that is definitely my favorite food. I love a good chips and queso with a margarita, some fajitas. I mean, I love it. Pretty much any kind of Tex-Mex I love.
I love it.
Favorite dessert? I love cheesecake.
Oh, good.
That's my number one dessert.
All right. Well, those are the two things that I wanted to end with. So this is excellent. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just kind of wrap up our conversation here, just share a few thoughts, and then at the same time, come back with a final thought on your part. So let me do that real quickly. Before I do the summary, though, I also want to mention, as a reminder, Lindsay actually has her own podcast. It's called By the Books. And so if you like podcasts, you're interested in those, definitely feel free to go and hear what she has to say. But definitely subscribe to this podcast. We've got a number of episodes that I'm sure you'll enjoy and like. So definitely find the time to do that. And then I did share earlier that in the episode description, there will be information regarding this webinar that we're doing that talks about tech and the stack that you can put together in your business. It really looks at two things. What are the different technology tools, the softwares, applications, plugins that you can be using in your business that can help your clients? And then also the ones internally that can help you with your business, your workflow, and in essence, automate some of the things that you're dealing with from a marketing perspective, from a production perspective. That's what we're going to be talking about. Definitely go to the episode description and get the information you need to listen in and join us for that. You can go there and I'll have the link there for also Lindsay's podcast. But let me do a summary, and the essence of today's conversation, I think, is really a few things. One, Lindsay came into this profession in the sense that she obviously started young. As many of us may have experienced with our growing up, with our families, we get exposed to the accounting process. We like the numbers, and we in time actually find this as a profession of choice. But she combines that with obviously this chance of being an entrepreneur. And it went just as I see so many experience. It's a supplemental income. You're doing it on the side, weeknights, weekends. And all of a sudden you just realize not only do you have a love for it, but by darn, you can actually make a living doing this. And you go all in and actually start doing this. And she's done exactly that. She gave some great advice regarding the marketing and sales. I thought that tip as to what to do in a conversation to initially focus on listening more, asking the right questions, and it's in that conversation you'll hear what those pain points are that you can address. And then regarding the accounting services, she's chosen to focus exclusively on bookkeeping. That's amazing. I love that priority. And then regarding production, we talked about some things there that are obviously addressing efficiency, and we need to be aware of that. The systems and process determine the value of our business. So with that mindset, I think she's in a great place to continue to grow her business and really build something she can quite be proud of, and at the same time build a legacy that she can then leave behind. Now, with that being said, Lindsay, do you have any closing thoughts?
Well, I just want to invite everyone to subscribe to our podcast By the Books. And all the links to Spotify, Google, Apple, and YouTube are on our website, suh-kline.com, which is SAKLINE.com. And then, of course, if anyone wants bookkeeping services or might be interested in selling your company, because that's one way I want to grow is through acquisitions. So that would be, I'm very interested. So let me know, suh-kline.com, SAKLINE.com, and our contact information is there.
I love it. I love it. It's been great having you on the show. I've enjoyed our conversation. Let me wrap it up by obviously saying that if it's about accounting, it is universal. Go ahead and check out more information about our free resources available to accounting professionals, as well as listen to our other episodes, and be sure to subscribe. You'll not regret it. For more information on how you can apply these principles in your business, visit us at universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call. You can reach us at 801-265-3777. And remember, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care and be safe out there.